Yes, we are back again, the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel, and another great episode about stuff. Stuff, this is what it's about. My collection of stuff. Yes, I collect amusement stuff, but I also collect anything that was Randy history, because it's the Randy's Collection series. And you know, as we're standing here, he's noticing stuff, all this kind of stuff here. I mean, obviously there's Randy mannequins hiding in here, and here's, you know, one of my wonderful plush animals. This was a camel. It's still a camel. It's kind of buried under there. I'm not going to pull him out. But I won that on the boardwalk in Seaside. But, you know, back in the day, the stands in Seaside had such wonderful things. And here's one. I'm going to point to the Kooky Combo here. This was a big hit on the boardwalk in Seaside, and I was little. I probably wasn't more than 7 or 8 years old, and all the stands had a Kooky Combo. And you see the picture of it on the right, on the box. It's a one-man band. You wore it with a strap around your neck. It had a kazoo that would, you know, be mounted on the pole and come over to you. You turned the handle. It would slap the fry pan on the bottom with a spatula. It had a toothbrush that would go up and down on the washboard. It had a can that would be hit by a spoon. I mean, there were all these special effect things that all went in a sequence as you turned the handle. And people would try to win these things. And we had to have one. We had to have two, because my sister had to have one also. So can you imagine today, with the changing world, with a stand on the boardwalk trying to get people to play for a Kooky Combo? Can you imagine the kids today walking up and down the boardwalk wearing their Kooky Combo, turning the handle and humming into the kazoo and blowing the whistles? It just wouldn't happen. But back then, in the mid-60s, that was a huge item. And I bet you that that's a very collectible item somewhere on, you know, the toy collectors things. And this is what it is. You save your stuff. You see that red thing sticking out? I mean, it looks like just a little bit, but that's on a pole that goes back. That's the invisible dog. That was huge on the boardwalk. Late 60s, people would all be walking up and down the boardwalk with their wired leash that looked like you were walking an invisible dog, but you were just holding a wired leash, and supposedly the dog is in the harness that you can't see. It was called the invisible dog. It was wonderful. The time people were innocent and they loved that stuff. There's a wall phone. That's probably the wall phone that I turned into the first cordless telephone that was ever. That hung on my wall above my bed, and I used to have to stay in my bed to reach the receiver and talk on the phone for hours with Grandma. So I decided to make a wireless version. So I wired it into my reel-to-reel tape recorder, which had the ability to pick up sound from a radio. And then I had a wireless transmitter built into a headset and another transmitter built into the telephone that would send the signal on one frequency to my headset, and then another frequency would talk back, picked up by my reel-to-reel tape recorder, and send it back into the telephone. There were no cell phones. There were no cordless phones. But I created one back when I was in late grammar school, and that's the telephone that I used. And it was made by Radio Shack, and it's a reconditioned wall phone. Probably came from Europe somewhere, because they used to get these things. These are the bouncing Disney. They would just bounce up and down. I forget what they called them. It's blocked by the tapes there. But they were battery operated. They would hop up and down to music and all this stuff. Here's a Snoopy hairdryer. I actually had that as a prize in Lucky's Fascination. It was one of the novelty prizes, and the hair blow, the hot air blows out of his nose. You see, it's the Snoopy hairdryer. Up there is a Mattel Bowl-O-Matic. You would shoot the ball down the lane and actually knock over bowling pins. That was actually my sister's, because I had the skee ball version. And this is when we started early as little kids, and we had toy versions of things. You see the bowl? There is video of me in that bowl in the pool. And that was a bowl made of styrofoam that you sat in the pool, and you'd rock yourself back and forth. And then somehow it got stabbed one time with a hole, so it had a little bit of a leak, and you'd have to throw the water out of it. I remember turning it upside down and hiding under the bowl above the surface of the water and peeking out the hole so people couldn't see me and all that stuff. And the lifeguards would get mad because they didn't know what I was doing under the bowl and all that stuff. But, you know, these are things from your past and from your childhood. childhood. I mean, you go down, you look, oh my gosh, this was my dollhouse. Yes, I had a dollhouse because my sister had a dollhouse. That was her dollhouse, and anything my sister had, I had to have. So I had a dollhouse, and I was younger, so of course, there's my dollhouse. And of course, we had to get the gumball machine when that came out, and then the little robots in the box, and there's little ukuleles and guitars hiding up on the top there. Hip flip. Do you remember hip flip? Oh my gosh, that was a hip thing, because you could flip around. Hip flip. Two people played, you stuck it on either one's waist, and you swung your hips around to try to swing something around. The gold French-style telephone. I got that from my mom one time. All these wonderful things, these wonderful memories. Here's the little rocking chair. I would sit in that chair and rock myself back and forth. And on the bottom, you see that little box that's attached to the runner? That, as you went rocking back and forth, it would push in, and it was a little music box. And it would play little tunes, not electronically, it was a mechanical music box. And as you rock back and forth in your rocking chair, that's what you would hear. Over here, you see this? This is my first Christmas tree. When I was a kid, this would be in my bedroom. I had the green one. My sister had to have a silver one because she had to be different. And then we had the real tree outside, so we had 3 Christmas trees. And there's boxes of toys, boxes of stuff all around. You go all around. And it's because, you know what? You don't throw away your history. You save everything. My first boom box, I won that at Lucky's Fascination. You see that? The message minder, that's an answering machine. Oh, here's one of those metal gas stations. Do you remember them? We would play with your little die-cast cars. That's long before Hot Wheels. All the toys. Snow discs. Do you remember you would sit on a snow disc instead of a sled and you go sliding down? You know, it's so much fun going back over your history because these are the memories who formed who you are. I know you remember your toys. We all do. We all had toys. And toys created us. They formed us in those formation years. The things we played with, our dreams, the things we got into. I was a very mechanical kid. I got into the mechanical parts. And sure enough, my aptitude came out to be what I do with my life. So this is kind of like the early years, the prelude that leads up to what I've become. And you get to see it right here on the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Yay! You got to share some early Randy history. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.